Hello everybody, welcome back to Stan's Garage, bringing you everything you need to know for effective IT management. Coming from a managed IT service provider, MSP, here in Los Angeles, we know there are a lot of MSPs out there. It can be easy to settle and end up with one that may not be a good fit for you. And preparing the right questions to ask your current or pending provider is the best way to find out how good of a fit that service provider is for you. Now, of course, there are a lot of questions you could ask, but which ones are best? Every business will have its own questions to ask depending on specific circumstances, but there are general themes that will help you get the proper responses. When hiring an IT company, keep these questions in mind to garner the best results. First, and this is probably the most common question, what pricing model do you use? Most managed service providers follow similar pricing models, but there are some that structure it differently enough to make this a relevant question. I'm not talking just in dollar terms, but rather how they might handle billing as well. Knowing how the business charges for its services can mean the difference between quality partnership and, potentially spending more than you have to in a way that doesn't quite fit your business. So whether your provider charges flat fee, custom pricing, or minimum blocks or something like that, it's obviously good to know what to expect. So what are your pricing options would be one of the questions you'd probably ask. Understanding that you can hire an IT service provider, different levels of support, those are all going to affect the pricing. And these are all things you want to find out in advance, right? It's important to have an idea of what you require from them and ask them to craft their pricing model according to your needs. Some providers will tailor the service directly to what your management wants. And there's going to be price differences for a fully managed solution that basically do everything versus, say, a co-managed, where you maybe have one person handling certain IT duties in your company. So speaking of co-managed services, does your provider even offer that kind of option? I mean, most probably would, but some only prefer to be the lone player. And a lot of companies potentially have an IT department or a person, and that doesn't mean they can't benefit from the services of an outside provider. They can act as a project manager, handling certain things like project security and even day-to-day maintenance that your internal people might not have time for. Being able to pay for this type of model is usually a cut rate over a fully managed solution. But again, not all providers offer it, or certainly those all or nothing types. Now, if you do already have an internal team, you might realize that you're overpaying a bit for your IT. In this case, you might find it best to have the best of both worlds. An outside service provider to handle the more technical work at an affordable price, with the internal guy that acts as mission control for your stuff and is obviously there on site and quick to respond whenever they're available. The next question you might want to ask your provider is, what sort of security precautions do they take? One of the biggest reasons for hiring any kind of IT provider is to make sure your network and systems are as secure as they can be. If you outsource this, you definitely have to make sure that they're staying on top of their own security. In some instances, you might even have regulations that you have to follow, particularly, say, like banking or medical fields. Or if you provide government services, you can face big fines if you're not staying on top of this. So knowing what kind of security measures your provider can offer are going to be vital in determining who you go with, particularly for those regulated industries. Another question to ask is, what is their discovery process? So when you're in the beginning stages of hiring a new IT company, they should ask you to conduct an initial assessment of your network. Red flags if they don't do that, because how are they going to know what to charge you if they don't know how many systems you have that they're going to be expected to support? Any worthwhile provider should do that assessment and not simply go off an inventory you provide. You're gonna want someone who's gonna value having the accuracy to know what they're gonna provide. Plus, when they do their discovery scans, they might find some stuff about your network that you're not even aware of, including some potential security risks. So, you're gonna ask another question. It would be, what hardware and software do they recommend? A well-seasoned managed service provider will be able to suggest best-in-class technology to their clients, in addition to using the best technology to support and manage what they've implemented. When you know what technology will be suggested to you, you can cross-reference it against recommendations from industry analysts. Another question, what are your service level agreements? Service level agreement, SLA, pretty common term, you probably heard it, which typically guarantees uptime, is essentially a contract between the provider and the company that they're providing the services to. Having a contract both parties agree on is the best way to prepare expectations. If a company does not meet the agreed upon service requirements, there are different measures that will apply, like potentially refunds, a free service, possibly the ability to break the contract if they're not living up to expectations. Make sure to go over those response times when signing the contract and making sure those SLAs are meeting your requirements. The MSP should have written documentation in the contract outlining the impact levels and including response times associated with the impact levels and time to remediate. Obviously, something critical emergency is going to be responded to much quicker than just someone being offboarded or something in 2-3 weeks. Right? Another question to ask is, what certifications and accreditations does your service provider hold? Certifications and accreditations are essentially a business's reputation. When a company acquires a certain level of skills and expertise, they may receive credentials from an independent verifier who has no stake in the company's success or failures. Having accreditations and certifications is preferable to not having them, even though some carry more weight than others, and you can hunt for them, particularly as part of your information collecting process. Identify the MSP's affiliation with partnerships with companies like Cisco, Microsoft, Dell, and others. Inquire about the number of certified people they have on staff potentially. Do they hold security credentials? Do they have any both experience and certifications with the technologies your company might be utilizing? Now, what's the best way to start looking for a new IT service provider or MSP? Now, this is a real question you want to start with. Whether you have a specific set of requirements, like a financial or healthcare firm, or something specialist to how you do business, resources and partners can offer the direction that you might require. All you have to do is ask. And a company like ours would be happy to give you a free assessment. So whether you have the specific requirements of a financial or healthcare firm or something specialist to how you do business, our resources and partners can offer you the direction that will help you make an informed choice. Hey, all you have to do is ask. And anyway, I'd love to get your thoughts on these questions. Were there any I missed? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you are looking for an IT service provider in your area, please feel free to schedule a call with me. I'm Stan, and you can use the Calendly link in the show notes below. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.